Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ketogenic Fasting Project. Today I'm talking about a book. If you're already into keto, you probably heard of Maria Emmerich. She's written several books. This one is the only one I've actually read, and I've been through it many times now. It's one of the first ketogenic books I read over a year ago, or I listened to. And since people are always asking about recipes and what to eat, what not to eat, I thought I better go back, go through this book, and do a short video on it. Because I would definitely recommend this, especially for new people. Well, you wouldn't have to be new, but if you're not new, you've probably already read it. So, anyways, it's a great book. It's kind of foundational. I know Maria Emmerich had quite a reputation before I ever got into this, so anyways, I think very positively of this book. I highly recommend it, and it's got more than just cooking in it for sure. And I wanted to take the opportunity to ask everybody to please subscribe. The more subscribers, the better. Last time I checked, this I had 20, so I'm a long ways from my goal of 1,000. So anyways, if you could subscribe, pass the videos along to other people that might be able to make use of them, I'd greatly appreciate it. So there's a lot of topics in this book, and I don't like to do slides that are too cluttered or whatever. One of the things that I was stuck in my mind is she really drives home the point that fructose is not your friend, which means fruit's not your friend. Fruit has what they call an obesogenic property. The sugar in fruit cannot be directly processed by your tissues in your body. It has to go to the liver and be processed into a different type of sugar. So in that process of being absorbed and all that, it triggers your body to actually store fat. And it's believed that this process came about through evolution because fruits are generally available in the autumn and human beings ate them, and it meant winter was coming. And so, when you start eating these things, your body takes the sugar from them, stores fat, and you fatten up for the winter, essentially. So, anyways, it's not that fruit necessarily is bad, but if you're trying to lose weight, this is a good thing to avoid. And people, even people who aren't trying to lose weight, might want to just eat fruit seasonally when it would normally be available, and not eat it all year round, and not eat every kind of fruit known to man all the time, because it's a lot of sugar. And as we can see, even though people eat a lot of fruit, doesn't mean they're healthy. Now, if you're an athlete and you're burning calories off like crazy, it's going to affect you less. If you have fewer health problems, it's going to affect you less. But remember, it's hard on the liver and it's hard on the waistline. So she drives that home, gets into detail about it. So more about that later. The other thing she mentioned that I always think about, I hear these commercials for these beet supplements that are supposed to improve nitric oxide in the blood, which kind of forms a lining in the arteries and all this and that and the other thing. And the problem is that carbohydrates are the foods that actually cause a deterioration in the nitric oxide. So when you take a beet supplement, in my mind, it's like drinking pomegranate juice. You drink pomegranate juice because it's full of antioxidants, but the reason why you need so many antioxidants is because you're metabolizing carbohydrates, and pomegranate juice is a carbohydrate. You're gonna eat beets to generate more nitric oxide when uh, you're the reason why you need more nitric oxide is because you're metabolizing carbohydrates. So it's like the snake eating his tail. The other thing she drives home is that metabolizing carbohydrates has a large magnesium demand. Takes quite a bit more magnesium than to metabolize the carbohydrate than it does. The ratio there is quite skewed. It takes a greater amount of magnesium to pair up with the carbohydrate. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. And then another thing she talks about a lot is you can get a lot of your micronutrients from your vitamins and stuff like that from spices and herbs and stuff. So a lot of plants, common spices and stuff are much richer in things like vitamin C than than the foods, or even potassium than the foods they normally recommend, like bananas and potatoes and oranges and all that stuff. So, putting some herbs in your food can go a long way. It's a great book for getting started. If I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this as a first book for people, especially since what exactly they're going to eat and how they're going to prepare it is usually on their mind. She knows a lot about nutrition. She's a nutrition consultant. She's very good at explaining the food. She's good at explaining the biological processes, and she has lots of tips on what to eat and not eat. I like the technical side of the book. She explains a lot of the really technical stuff about what's going on in our bodies, particularly why we don't want to consume carbohydrates, like the glycated end products. It's basically like caramelized waste products that we wind up with because we're eating too many carbohydrates. She explains why insulin resistant livers create thyroid problems. When you're, like a lot of organs in your body, that your liver can become insulin resistant. And when it does, it has a hard time converting T3 to T4, which is a thyroid hormone. So that it becomes part of the obesity sort of constellation there. It's um, part of the disease that is sort of a side detail. It could cause people to lose their hair or whatever. So it's something to be noteworthy, and it's something you can get tested by your doctor, I believe. So if you're overweight and having a tough time, think you might be insulin resistant, and I think you can get your T4 and your T3 checked. So another good reason to think about going keto, or at least low carb. And also, she points out that high blood pressure and high blood sugar are intimately related, and carbohydrates cause you to retain sodium, which of course causes you to retain water. So that all goes hand in hand. So when you stop eating carbohydrates and your blood pressure goes down, you lose the sodium, you lose the water, and of course, as we spoke about earlier in other videos, you also reduce the inflammation in your body. So this is a great anti-inflammatory diet. She talks a lot about healing various things like leaky gut syndrome and other diseases. She's a little heavier on the supplements than I would be, except I would say I try and look at it from a standpoint of healing, because a lot of people come into ketogenic diet for medical reasons, so you're not necessarily just here to try and lose weight. And if you were, you probably wouldn't want to take all these supplements she recommends. But she gets into different types of supplements for different reasons. And I think when you look at it in that framework, it makes more sense, because I think once you're healthy on a good diet, you don't need all these supplements typically. She mentions the book, The Fat Switch. So among others, there's lots of books she mentions, but that one in particular goes into depth about why fructose causes obesity and problems with your liver. So she talks a lot about how to formulate a good diet, which of course is kind of key. So that's another reason why this is a great book. She gets very much into which foods to eat, which foods not to eat. She talks about different kinds of sweeteners. She talks about stevia, which a lot of people don't like. I don't like it myself, but some people do. It's very popular. She talks about erythritol and xylitol and all that, which I've tried xylitol. And about the only thing I've ever really used it for that I liked was making ice cream. So I'll make ice cream out of heavy whipping cream with just some xylitol, some whole eggs, so a little bit of vanilla extract, and maybe a little chocolate, unsweetened cocoa powder or something like that. And I usually put a can of coconut oil in there, because the coconut oil has xanthan gum or guar gum in it, and it will keep the ice cream from getting too hard. So I mean, you could add in those other sort of additives separately, I suppose, but it's pretty easy thing to do, and the ice cream comes out pretty good, and it's something different to eat. I can't wait to try it with that new heavy whipping cream I found. That's 40%. That should be pretty awesome. So now Maria Emmerich has also written other books, like I mentioned, and hopefully I'll get to those at some point. Right now I'm kind of going through the books I already know and sharing those with people just to try and help them get started. Um, so, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this book review, and I hope that reading this book helps somebody out there. And so, thank you everybody for watching or listening to this video, and I hope people stay inspired, stay curious. People have all kinds of health problems that they could probably fix with their diet that they never imagined were really caused by their diet, much less curable by diet. So everything from mood disorders to potentially cancer, certainly autoimmune diseases, allergies, high blood pressure, heart disease, and of course anybody who wants to be more athletic, it's kind of a shoo-in, especially if you're in some sort of endurance sport. So anyways, thanks again folks, and I will talk to you soon.